It's a sorrow, a watcher from Junts and Faults. You're listening to Too Many Podcasts with Jim, the podcast Sherpa. Let's get back into the episode, yeah?
Welcome to Too Many Podcasts, the podcast about podcasts. Now, podcasting from the Sherpa Chalet on Mount Podcastia, here's your host, Jim, the podcast Sherpa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bruce, and welcome all my rebels of the Sherpalution back to Too Many Podcasts. Hey, wait a minute. Do you smell that? Listen. Do you smell it? Yep, that's right. It's a theme week.
It's theme week. It's theme week. It's theme week.
And this week's theme is saving the Earth. That's right, saving the Earth. It's Earth Day here on the podcast. And I want to talk to you a little bit about women. Not that I know a lot about them, but I just want to talk to you about them. Actually, the only thing I wanted to say was, I haven't had many women on the podcast lately, so I've definitely made up for that, I think. For this week and next week, we've got two really great women that you're going to enjoy hearing from. And I really had a lot of fun interviewing the both of them. But let's start with this week. I'll bet somebody's going to ask me, who's our guest today, Sherpa?
Who's our guest today, Sherpa?
So glad you asked. My guest this week hosts the podcast Greener Thoughts. Her name is Nyla, and she is an environmentalist, and she's a member of the Sierra Club, and she's also a sociologist. So we really had a great talk this week in the Sherpa Chalet about the Earth and what we can do to save it. But before we get started, keep in mind that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You know, you can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Sherpa. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or your MP3 player. So let's head on down to the conference room of the Sherpa Chalet for my conversation with Nyla. And we've got a very special guest today. She hosts the podcast called Greener Thoughts, where green things happen. And the Green Thoughts is about current environmental news, a little commentary, eco fun facts, and so much more. And she's a wonderful person, and I'd like you all to meet my friend, Nyla. How you doing, Nyla? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good, Jim. Thank you for having me here. It's exciting to be here. I couldn't be happier being a guest for you today.
And your name is such a unique and pretty name. Where did that come from?
Oh, thank you. It's actually Arabic, and it means one who's able to succeed. And, you know, I think I've lived up to my name most of my life. So, I do myself proud, my parents proud, my family and stuff. And, yeah, you can kind of think of it being similar to like the Lion King for those who maybe have a hard time pronouncing it or anything like that. That's just a reminder on Nyla. So
okay, yeah. And if the listener starts singing "Can You Feel the Love Tonight," I'll understand why, right?
I know.
All right, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a young millennial. I'm a 90s baby. My older sister, college grad. I have a vast love for learning things. I have a ton of books. You'll probably always catch me trying to be in a bookstore or buy books from Amazon. I'm a creative gal, so I love doing creative projects. I've recently taken on sewing and embroidery and patch making, which is really, really fun. People would describe me as mainly bubbly, wise, and a kid at heart. And I'm a big movie buff. So, I love the good, bad, and the ugly. So your romance, drama, and horror movies in that order. And I can't get enough movies. I've watched, probably thousands over the years. And then lastly, I love puzzles, and I'm an environmentalist, and I've been, this way as an environmentalist probably for 15 plus years, and I try to embody it as an ethos and, as a commitment, and a lifestyle as well. So all three of those.
And I noticed you also created the artwork for your logo.
Heck yeah. See, that's where the creativity comes into play. Yeah, it took over a month to do. And I did it, being new to like GIMP, the software and everything. It was really fun, the process of that. And even though I asked my sister sort of for how to, make it sized and everything at the end when I was getting ready to make my podcast a reality and, get that together, she was really helpful in, just saying, let it be and don't worry too much about it. And yeah, it was fun to create, and I'm so proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very different, but you notice it, especially the little sparkles in it, just, on a computer screen, you wouldn't really expect to see something like that, but it has like a nice glow to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Now you're a sociologist and you're an environmentalist. Mm-hmm. So how does sociology fit into environmentalism?
Yes. Well, sociology in itself is really expansive. So in its simplest form, sociology, is a study of people, and it's a study of people in groups. So, data is really big in sociology, like as a whole. And so people can really explore their interests in sociology. So, if you're into economics, then you can go into studying consumer habits, shift habits, varying by generation. So people who are a bit older versus younger. Criminology, you could study social change, political sociology, rural sociology, demographics, whatever. But for me, environmental sociology really, captured me, and I studied it at university, and I fell in love with the course, and I still have one of the textbooks from it. So, how I try to bridge sociology and environmental concepts and things is that I try to tie the themes of environmentalism and their patterns to sociology. So things like climate change, waste is a really big topic for me because I love talking about it and researching it. Energy is another big one. Consumer habits, buying patterns. I love talking about those type of themes in data form as it relates to sociology.
Okay. Now, you live on the East Coast of the United States. Did you want to say what state you live, or we'll keep that a secret?
Oh, no. People know I live in Maryland. No.
Okay.
I live in Maryland. And yeah, I haven't really told too many people the exact city, at least I don't think. I live in Upper Marlboro. So it's the greater part of Upper Marlboro, not the, itty bitty town. But it is, historical. And I was born in D.C. and raised in Maryland my whole life, up to a certain point, beforehand, when I was like an itty bitty, running around. And yeah, I love Maryland. I'm a Marylander.
Okay. All right. Now, given what you've done with your show, if you had the choice to move to the most eco-friendly place in the world, where would you want to live?
Oh, honestly, by rank, it would have to be Sweden, hands down. And, I say that because, it's strictly based on, being the most eco-friendly, but like Sweden is awesome. Like Sweden is, they're really big on waste management, and they're beautiful as a country. Their landscape, they're big on forestry, protecting trees and their air and water. And they really hold companies and industrialists, I think, to the fire, because they don't really put up with things like giving them incentives to, release carbon into the atmosphere. So they are really big on carbon taxing and sort of de-incentivizing making companies, produce emissions. They won't let companies get away with it there. And, the Swedes and Scandinavians in general, they just know how to treat their planet well. I always think of them as like really, really great human beings in general. So, living in Sweden, it would probably be like a paradise almost. It'd be beautiful to be there.
Okay. And what do you feel is the worst environmental problem in the United States? I know there's, if you're going to pick one.
Oh my gosh. There's so many, but no, I think the worst environmental crisis, if I had a choice, would probably be the consumption of resources and waste that the United States produces, from a personal standpoint and from a standpoint of we exude so much we take so much from the planet, and we think we run things. It's just, we need to stop. And that's one of the biggest problems I think we have as a country. And worldwide, if you want to know that, it's climate change, hands down. Worldwide, it's climate change.
That's funny because that actually leads into my next question of what your thoughts were on climate change.
Yeah, climate change. Mm-hmm. And that was actually one of the topics that were covered in the recent debates, debates. So that was pretty cool that they, talked about it too, climate change. And not just, they talked about it for the United States, but it's a world problem, really. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And, it's funny. Some people just completely deny it, and I never really fully understand that because
exactly.
even before there was human life on the planet, the Earth changed, with its temperatures and and shifting and all of that. Now it's like we're here and we're accelerating that.
I know,
whether we like it or not. It's it's a cold hard fact.
This is true. And it's bad. Like the past 60 years, ever since. We became more industrialized, as a country, as a region in this side of the world, the West. Like, we're kind of nearing that tipping point where if we don't change, things are going to get, saddeningly worse. And so, we have to do stuff about it.
Absolutely. Now, you're a member of the Sierra Club, and I know a little about the Sierra Club. I know that it's been around since about the 1890s.
Yes.
Originally, and you did some blogging, and you sent me a copy of your blog, and I read it.
Yeah,
and, it was interesting. It was a funny thing that I was reading, and you were actually inspired to do your podcast by listening to the Gary V audio podcast.
Yes, Gary.
And I just recommended that on my last show for people to check out. So I said, "Well, we have a little thread going from show to show."
Yeah. That blog post, that was awesome that you read it. Thank you for that. Gary Vee, he's a charismatic, honest, blunt force to be reckoned with. And so, just to go into a little bit of that, Gary Vee, his interview really inspired me because he made and sort of convinced me how easy, using Anchor was. And, I had, stuff to say. I wanted to sort of get my foot out there and, give information and do it in a way that was fun and new to me. And it's just explore and see what would come of it. And next thing you know, Greener Thoughts was born. But as it relates to my involvement in the Sierra Club, like I've been a member for almost 3 years. So it'll be 3 years in August. And I'm on the executive committee on the Prince George's County Sierra Club group. And it's full of, almost 10 members, committee members. And we volunteer. We do tabling events. We plan different things, potlucks. We travel, throughout the state sometimes. We do walks together. We try and get people into Sierra Club because it is, vast. It's the nation's largest and oldest grassroots environmental organization. So, we do a lot, and, I'm proud to be a Sierra Club member, and, I do what I love and, fight for the planet. So.
Sure. You want to, just for people who aren't familiar with it, could you let people know like what exactly the Sierra Club does?
Sure. So we do a ton of different events, whether it comes to different campaigns that we run, environmental campaigns. So there's ones about coal, there's ones about the oceans, there's ones about protecting our natural spaces in our parks and everything. Grand Canyon, we're trying to always make those, protected spaces as well. And I actually did a special, very special podcast episode about the Sierra Club and about our 127 so far history for all those interested. But yeah, the Sierra Club does many things. We just had our special march. We were in one of the marches about, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, the climate march. And that was really big as well. So if you're interested and passionate about the environment and you want to lead some change, get tagged onto an idea and be a part of one of the oldest and largest grassroots environmental organizations, check out the Sierra Club. You'll love it and you will not regret it.
Okay. Are there any other organizations that people should be aware of that do work like the Sierra Club?
Plenty. There's some similar ones, but kind of like not the same. And I have a few recommendations. So I have my top six. So I have my top six organizations. So one of them is 350.org. That is a climate-focused, climate change-oriented organization. Brilliant. It has great tools to get you started. And if you're big on information, the Nature Conservancy, they're long time known. Earth Justice is very good as well. I think they're more so focused on environmental law, and for anyone interested in that, and they have great infographics, statistics, all that. Greenpeace is a staple. Greenpeace is known.
Sure.
And then Climate Action Network, they're vast. And then last but not least, World Wildlife Fund, or WWF. They're a nice one for animals. For all those who are for animals.
Yes, I've heard of some of those, but not all of them, though. So thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I know when, as consumers, if people are thinking in terms of, well, let's buy eco-friendly products, and sometimes they can go to the supermarket and they'll see some brands, and then there's some others, and some of them are kind of disguised as an eco-friendly company. I'm sure you've probably seen that in your work. But how can people find good references for the right types of earth-friendly companies? Do you know?
Oh wow, this is a vast question. I love this question because it's sort of like a mosh pit. You can sort of go into the right direction, wrong direction, but I want to try and steer you into the right one. Okay. So there are, different sites, like the Fair Trade Federation has a list of different fair trade products online to, sort through. But here's one way to sort of get to the root of it and try and do it easily. You have to start with things that you buy. So people buy a lot of things. And we as Americans, I know firsthand, love to buy and shop. So looking at products firsthand on the back of things and looking at those ingredients and certifications and little labels on the backs of products like beauty products, sometimes clothes, those are big indicators of whether the product is eco-friendly or good. So there's a ton of certifications to look for. And I have a few in mind for you to check out for anybody interested as well. The green seal, that has the little swirly green checkmark for itself. It's the green seal approved. Look for that stamp. It'll be on labels. USDA organic for everyone in the United States. That's a staple. Usually in food, you'll see it on. The Rainforest Alliance certified goods for everything from paper to coffee, anything Rainforest Alliance approved, it'll be certified with the little green frog. It's really cute. Cradle to Cradle, the infinity sign, you'll see it, and it'll say Cradle to Cradle. That's another indicator of something to buy that's really good because it cycles back into the earth. Anything recyclable, fair trade as well. Sometimes something will say fair trade, which is fine. And then there's some other labels like EcoCert, which I kind of need that refresher. It's just a little symbol that says EcoCert. Anything cruelty-free, international with the little bunny symbol, with the little running bunny, that's really cute. Anything B Corp related, it'll say B Corp certified. And B Corp, just means it's a benefit corp, which is really nice because it empowers the consumer to be in the thinking mode and stand by their product because it's socially based and conscious, and it holds itself accountable to its stakeholders, and its mission is being good, and it doesn't really produce many negative effects and stuff. And then your usual things like family owned, not tested on animals is another good one, for products that aren't tested on animals, it's common sense. And then, good housekeeping. Green has its own seal on products, if they're good to clean with. And then last but not least, the EPA, they have EPA approved cleaning products like CLR. If you've ever seen CLR, the little cleaning products, sometimes they'll be EPA approved.
Okay.
And other products too that the EPA will approve for good use. They have their good standing with them.
Wow. Okay. And I know you kind of ventured out a little bit and you did an episode about healthy eating, about how to reduce your cholesterol.
Yes. Yes, I did. That was packed full of so much information. It's gotten a few listens, and, I really put it out there for those who want to be conscious with their health and if they have problems with their heart, high blood pressure, not really taking enough exercise, there are foods to help you get started and get that together so they can be healthy for their, kids, for their grandkids, for their friends, whomever. And also did a superfood episode. You probably love that as well. If you love fruits and veggies, you'll love that podcast as well. I have fun doing them both. I have fun, almost all my podcasts, if not their if not the more research intensive ones. But that was really fun too, because it kind of broke up, reporting environmental news. So yeah, that was fun to do. Really fun.
Sure. What are your favorite foods?
My favorite foods. This is so many, but I have a few. I guess my top 10. Or top 3, I guess, would have to be avocados. So like avocados with cheese, tomatoes, white onion, red onion, a little bit of garlic, salt, kosher salt, mixed all together. Tortilla chips. I'm good for 5-6 hours. That's like a meal in itself for me. I love avocados. I love avocados. And then salmon. It's really good, heart healthy. Got those omega-3s packed in there. Really good with a little bit of butter, some herbs. Fine stuff. And I'm mostly pescatarian, so I love eating salmon, fish. And then lastly, salad, a good salad or potato, but mostly a salad.
Okay. Do you have any special guilty pleasures every once in a while?
I do. And they're all good. For the most part. Crab is a staple. I will never not eat crab. I'll probably have that forever. Maybe that's the Marylander in me, but it's so good. And it's packed full of protein and vitamins and vitamin K and everything. Seafood, anything fried. I love anything fried that happens to be seafood. Calamari, shrimp, whatever. And then some lasagna. So I love lasagna. It's so good. And I actually fixed for Thanksgiving last year in 2018. I fixed 2 seafood lasagnas. That will put you, in a spin. Like, it's amazing. And yeah, I went ham for, Thanksgiving, dinner and cooking. And I fixed 2 quiches as well. I made them from scratch. So that was really fun to do.
I have never heard of a seafood lasagna. That's interesting.
I know. You got to look it up. It's so good.
Okay. Now, what do you think that as individuals, what can we do to improve the planet?
To put it bluntly, to care. Most people, when it comes down to it, they say that they do, but their actions don't lead up to it. They leave the water on the faucet running. They, drive a Hummer. They don't buy, great light bulbs. They, waste products and they don't last a year. People don't take the time, not always to, research and do, what they can. I'm not saying everyone does that. I'm not, saying it's all encompassing. But for those people who just say, oh, someone else will do it, or I'll do it later, or it's too expensive, like that's not an excuse. So, there's some tips to, help yourself along, like reusing more, buying less. These are easy. Don't litter. Please don't litter. I never litter. Please don't. People, will easily chuck something out of a window while on the highway. And I'm thinking that's not going to get picked up later. Animals like hawks and owls die because they're trying to die for whatever you just threw out there, food or whatever. People have to buy consciously and purposefully with a purpose. What you're buying has value, then make sure you're buying the good stuff. Buy shoes that are made from quality materials and they'll last you for decades, if not, maybe a little bit less, but they'll, last you a while. Then the polyurethane or PVC, lined, goods, they may not last that good and they're not good for the planet. Things like that, people can do. And also makeup. Makeup is, I don't use much makeup, but for, women who happen to, slather on makeup, they put on products that they can't pronounce. They can't pronounce the ingredients, but yet they'll slather it on their faces. I don't understand that. So, there's, tons of brands, Burt's Bees, Shea Moisture, Kiss My Face. These brands they're good for the planet. They have yummy ingredients, smell wonderful, and they have a long backing behind them, so they know what they're doing.
You were talking about littering, and this actually reminds me, I was in third grade, so this is a long, long time ago. And we were sitting there, and our teacher asked one of the students to throw a piece of paper on the floor. And she said, okay, well, that's not too bad. Somebody could just come along and pick it up. And she told everyone else in the class, now all of you take one piece of paper and throw it on the floor. And you saw what a mess that the classroom became just in that one instance. So she said, if you can think of just cleaning up, your own stuff, think of how, it could affect the rest of the planet.
Wow.
And that's like a lesson that really stayed with me over the years, to how important it is to, recycle and, be careful with just throwing stuff out the window. And, you got to think of, other people. And, we're not here alone on this planet. There are billions of others to go with.
Yes, this is very true. It's very good. It's very good that you remember that. It's really awesome. Your teacher is amazing for that. And you're amazing for remembering that because, that's a lesson that's, powerful, really powerful.
Absolutely. Now, if you could single-handedly fix one problem with the Earth, what would it be?
It would be plastic pollution. Can't fix climate change right now by myself, but in one fell swoop, I would fix plastic pollution, nothing else, just that. That would be my main thing because it's so ingrained and it's so widespread worldwide. Like it's in all the gyres, it turns into microplastics, and it's like insidious because it's so hard to get rid of. I mean, when it's out there in the environment, but we can prevent it by, not using it and using less of it, and then finding alternatives. So it would be plastic pollution. Mm-hmm.
I saw recently one of the headlines. I think actually somewhere around here, they banned the use of styrofoam.
Yes. Heck yeah. Woohoo. This is in New York?
Yes.
Oh, great. Oh, they're following the tides. Yes. Okay. So yes, so Maine is done their part. Maryland and different counties, we've tried to, of course, ban styrofoam and the use of it. It's kickstarted, and we're doing really well. But I'm proud of New York, parts of it and everything to ban styrofoam. That stuff is pesky. It's a menace. But yeah, it's awesome. Oh my gosh. Awesome.
Now, since this is a show about podcasts, and I know I got to say, we belong to a Facebook group together, and Nyla is probably one of the biggest cheerleaders in that group. I think you really give more encouragement to anybody in that group than any other person that belongs in there. You always have a positive message, and we always know your messages because you've got at least 12 emojis.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know people knew that. Like I try to be on there daily and give wisdom or answers, and I try to help out everybody. And I didn't know that. Thank you for that. I didn't know that people just love that stuff. But yeah, I will come through with the podcast information. So I'll give you my top 5 because I gotta tell you, Jim. When it comes to my podcast, literally between Anchor and Podcoin, which is where I mainly use, I have probably over 100 plus podcasts that I try to listen to all the time.
Wow.
There's a few on TuneIn. There are thousands out there, but I tried to narrow it down. So my top 5 on Anchor, I'll just start there first, would have to be in no particular order, none of these. Life of Logan. I've spoken to him via voice message. He's a really, kind, smart, honest person. Will bare his soul. He's, that kind of podcaster kind of person. Weird AF News. I recently sent him some email and everything, and he read that on his podcast. So he did it on the recent one, the 26th or 24th, one of those. It's really, special. The third one, Morning Cup of Murder. That is amazing. Bite-sized murder stories and crime stories. Then fourth, Black History Buff podcast. Amazing stuff. The podcaster is amazing. He's super supportive. And same way I am with his podcast. And then fifth is To Be Single or Not to Be. On Podcoin, I have a few as well. Susie Orman's Women and Money. I love her stuff. She's the GOAT when it comes to money and finance. That's, for those who don't know, the greatest of all time. The second one on Podcoin would be The Read. That is really great, cultured mix of all things new. Got some listener mail in there. Third, Mythology. I love mythology, ancient tales. Fourth, Small Doses with Amanda Seals. Really brilliant. She's a comedian. She's also Caribbean American. She's brilliant. And then fifth on Podcoin is Family Secrets. I love their rawness on that podcast, and families and individuals and everyone that call in, and they're so honest. Like they'll tell what their secret is, and maybe anonymous, maybe not, or anything. I have one more list, but that's for eco-centered podcasts. I know, I'm very thorough. I have the last list is very much eco-centered news. So the first, in no particular order, is Climactic, broadcaster from Australia. Pretty humorous, funny, but real news there. Then the second one is Cross Currents. That is, I think, a local radio station-based podcast. And then third, it's NPR Environment. That's a no-brainer. Then fourth is the Green News Report. Very, very nice logo work. I love their logo. It's very clean. And then their bite-sized environmental news, very nice. They always have podcasts going. And then lastly, Hippie Haven podcast. They recently did more podcasts too. I think they try to keep consistent there, so they're a good one as well.
Okay, I'm writing all of these down because I know I want to add them to my Sherpa Sheet.
I'll be sure to send them to you as well. I can, just quickly do a little type up if you want.
Okay, yeah, I was able to keep up with you, so as long as I can read my chicken scratch when I write it up, then we'll be fine. Okay, now we talked about everybody else's podcast, so this is your opportunity to do what we call the shameless self-promotion.
Shameless self-promotion.
And that is where you get to let everybody know how they can reach you, or if there's anything that you're involved in that you'd like to let them know about. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, I just surpassed, 1,000 listens, and I'm extremely happy and thankful about that. And so, yeah, I've done a bit. And so for, anyone interested, they can definitely check out my podcast. Currently, I'm running my giveaway. It's a bonus sort of health is wealth giveaway. And so I'm running that from July 1st, 2019, which is coming up really soon. It starts at midnight to, July the 28th on that following, I think, Sunday. So, all those who are interested, that ends at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, July 28th. for everyone there. Just answer a few questions. It's really fun. And you can check it out. The information, you can check out my latest podcast I did on the 27th of June to get some of the information, but enter officially on July 1st. And then anyone can find me on anchor.fm/Greener Thoughts Podcast. Again, anchor.fm/Greener Thoughts Podcast. And, I'm on 10 platforms, and I'm also on Podcoin. I have 3 annual giveaways. I have my, Earth Day giveaway, which is always on April 22nd each year. This is the first year, of course. And then the Sierra Club anniversary giveaway, that's always going to be on May 28th. And that runs, the whole month of May. And then lastly, my anniversary, which is coming up. 1 year anniversary is coming up in November. So I think I'm going to do a really, really nice, spectacular giveaway there. And so, I want you all to join me. It'll be really fun.
Well, that's a lot to look forward to there on that show. Mm-hmm. So everybody keep in mind, every day is Earth Day with Nyla. Mm-hmm. And make sure you check out Greener Thoughts, and you have new episodes on Sundays and Thursdays.
Yes, I do.
And they're on, like she said, 10 podcast platforms, so she'll be hard to miss.
Yeah.
Nyla, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim. It's been an absolute joy, and I want to thank you for, reaching out. This is amazing, a delightful surprise, and I couldn't be happier. Anytime.
Thanks so much. The pleasure is all mine.
And now it's time for Sherpa Suggestions.
With all of Nyla's recommendations, I think I've actually been out-sherpa'd. But that's okay. Here's some of my recommendations for this week if you like shows like Nyla's. There's Living on Earth, Costing the Earth, Resources Radio, Sustainababble, and of course, Greener Thoughts. So be sure to give a hoot and don't pollute. And if you can't make Hootie the Owl happy, maybe you can try and make Hootie and the Blowfish happy. Hey, thanks so much for listening to Too Many Podcasts. And a special thanks to my guest this week, Nyla. And be sure to listen to her podcast, Greener Thoughts. You'll really learn a lot. And she's great. She's a super nice person. And speaking of super nice people, I've got another super nice lady coming up next week. Australian supermodel turned actress Jasmine Shojai. We had a really long and interesting conversation. And please come back and check it out next time, okay? And be sure to listen to our show and review it. And spread the word, You can follow me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And I also have a webpage. And if you do a search, I believe if it's type in the words podcast about podcasts, you will see the link to my website. Okay? So, until next time, as we Sherpas like to say, hey, why does your passport look like Alfred E. Newman? Mad Magazine, we will miss you. And I know the people who've read it know the meaning of the word blech. Bruce, take us out of here, please.
Thanks for listening to Too Many Podcasts. Please disperse. You can go home now. I said you can go home now. Viva la Sherpa. Viva la Sherpa. Oh. Yeah, I'll come back now, you hear?